Welcome to Perfect Stances and Footwork. In this tape, I will be covering 7 different stances. I'll go over its length, the width, and of course, the weight distribution of each stances. I will show you how to move from one position to the other position. It will help you how to work on your balance on every one of the stances. So grab paper and pencil, take notes, or better yet, put your uniform on and follow along. I'm sure this tape will help you in your martial arts training. Let's get started with perfect stances and footwork. First position, attention position, where your feet are together, hands are by your side, standing in nice erect, at attention position. Here, you salute. And you will continue on to ready stance. Ready stance, your feet are shoulder width apart, a little bit wider than natural stance, which I'll be talking about later. It's more of a firm stance. Stance to be prepared, ready stance. So you want to take your stance nice and firm, about shoulder width apart. Your weight is evenly distributed. You're not leaning to one side or front or back. However, if you need to, you can shift to left, right, front, or even to the rear. Again, wide as your shoulder, nice and firm. Now from here, your hand position. Make a nice little fist, bring it by, around your waist level. Here, you want to look firm. You don't want your elbow to be sagging. You don't want your elbow to be sticking out. If you look at the ready stance from the side view, from your shoulder to your elbow to your wrist, should make nice one plane. Your wrist should not be breaking. Your elbow should not be sagging or sticking out. You want the plane to be nice and straight, almost as if you're holding a piece of board right in front of your body. It's going to make a nice straight one line. Ready stance. Coming back to the front, your feet shoulder width apart, almost parallel to each other, facing at the same direction. You don't want feet to be pointing inward, outward, facing forward. Hands coming together. This 2 fists symbolizes yin and yang, or good, bad, plus or minus, which brings everything together into the center of your body. Ready stance. Now let's take this ready stance into an actual application, almost into a street situation. Again, your body is turned sideways to protect the vital area of your body. Your feet shoulder width apart. Your balance is nice and firm. Here you can lean forward or even lean back to avoid any of the attacks. The length In this case, again, shoulder length. From the front, it was wide as your shoulder. From the side, is long as your shoulder. So either way you look at it, it'll be shoulder width apart. And here, you can have your hand position in a guard or even a natural stance. And this is your ready stance. From attention position to ready position. Now let's talk about horseback riding stance, where your width of the stance is approximately 2 times wide as your shoulder. So let's take one more step out. So where your weight is, again, evenly distributed. You're not leaning to one side. Your balance is nice and firm in the center. Both knees are bent. Your hip is forward. So your body weight is sitting right on top of that leg. One of the most important things to remember, make sure your knees are not sagging. As you can see right now, my stances are very unstable. You want to make sure your knees out, hip in, 2 times wide as your shoulder, or sometimes 3 of your own foot length. Either one will work, whichever is more comfortable for you. Now, let's start out getting into this horseback riding stance. Some of you may not be flexible enough to get that 2 shoulder width. Don't worry about that. That's supposed to be an ideal stance. So maybe start out with 1.5 shoulder width. Again, start out with bending your knees, pushing those knees out. By doing this horse stance properly, it will also help you to stretch that hip and your groin muscles out. So don't take any shortcuts. Again, get into a nice firm stance, push those knees out, get that hip in, so your weight is sitting right on top of that center of that stance, horse stance. And once you get more comfortable, get that stance a little bit wider, twice as wide as your shoulder, or a little wider than that. And working on getting that hip down and getting the knee out. So where you're really working on your groin as well as your hip muscle. 2 times wide as your shoulder. Okay, from here, now let's talk about punching. Punching stance. This will help you to develop your leg, your hip, and your strengthening for the horseback riding stance. So start out with both hands in the front in a punching position. As you slide out to the left, bring your right hand back by your rib cage. And let's throw a couple middle punches. Okay, hold that position, keep that knee out, keep that hip in. Remember, twice as wide as your shoulders, and weight is even, 50-50. No length. That means you're not going forward or back, right in the middle. Okay, here we go. Ready? 1, 2. Try to hold that balance. Don't let the knees buckle in or wobble. A little faster. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And come back to ready position. Now let's work a little bit on the footwork. How you can shift from side to side in a horse stance. If I'm in a horse stance, let's get into that. Again, both hands in the front, step to the left, get into the nice horse stance, and bring your hands back to the side sharply. But this time, instead of doing a punch, let's work on the chop, knife hand strike. Now we're going to go to the side and then come back to the same position. Now again, it's very important that you get that weight shifted properly. So first, you're in a nice firm stance. You're going to slide your left foot to your right. We're going to slide over. Now as you do that, to make the movement slightly easier, pick those heels off the floor, because it's always easier to move on ball of your foot than on your heel. Try to walking around with that. See which one's easier, walking around on ball of your foot, walking around on your heels. you'll notice ball of the foot is much, much easier. So let's try that. Just from here, pick those heels up slightly and slide over. And you should be able to maintain that balance on ball of your foot. Keep those knees bent and come back. Let's try that one more time. Step, come back. Now, if you have been paying attention, you should have noticed that my head level didn't change. I didn't go up. I stayed at the same level. I'm working on my thigh, my hip, my leg muscles. Also, same time, I'm maintaining that balance. So let's try that one more time. Keep that head level same. Ready? Step. You should be coming up on ball of your foot. Now shift the weight and slide out. Again, you are in a horseback riding stance. One more time. Okay? Remember, don't rise, don't sag. Okay? Try to keep that head level nice and firm. Ready? You can even look. Let's look to the side that you're going. Look, slide, and step. Okay? Let's try that fast 3 times. Ready? Look, slide, and step. Remember, 2 times wide as your shoulder. Again, ready? Slide and step. And one more time. Ready? Slide and step. Twice as wide as your shoulders. Weight evenly distributed, 50-50. Okay, now you're ready to add some hand strikes. Now, we're not just going to go to one side. We'll come back to the other side using knife hand strike. We'll do a couple slow, and we'll do a few more fast. So try to stay with me, remembering all the little details I have just told you about. Twice as wide as your shoulders. Make sure your knee doesn't sag. Make sure head level stays nice and firm. And most important, move smoothly on ball of your foot. Are you ready? Okay, let's start out. Feet together. Bow. Move your left foot to the side, wide as your shoulder. Ready stance. And let's step out to the left first. And I want you to cross your left hand on the top, right hand on the bottom. We're going to be performing knife hand strike. Take the left foot, slide to the left, twice as wide as your shoulder, and chop. Same time, bring your right hand back to your side. Now, same thing to the other side, but this time we're going to add that footwork. So as you slide over, I want you to look. As you slide over, cross that right hand on the top. And as you step out, you chop to the other side. So now you can see the pattern. Let's go back. Look over your left shoulder. Cross your left thumb on the top. Slide that right foot back. I want you to stay on ball of your foot and chop as you step with the left. Okay, are you ready? Look to the right. Step and chop. Look to the left. Step and chop. Look to the right. Step and chop. Look to the left. Step and chop. And come back to ready position. Remember, ready position, shoulder width apart, hands by your waist. Let's work this horseback riding stance, front and back, where you can see it from the side. Take a stance again, 2 times wide as your shoulder. As you bend your knees, you notice my rear end is coming out. You want to make sure your rear end and your body is sitting right on top of the stance. So this way, all the weight, all the pressure is on your leg. Your upper body is nice and firm. Don't tense up your shoulder, don't tense up your body, and again, most important, don't let that hip stick out. I don't think anybody wants to see that. So keep that hip in, back straight. So from here, knife hand strike. Now, I'm going to be moving forward. So I want to be able to stay in that nice plane. Keep that head level same. Bring the left foot in. As you step out, turn your body. And left thumb on the top, chop. And remember, you want to be able to keep that weight right in the center so you can shift it to the front or to the back, because that's where we're working right now. Not side to side, but front and back. So let's go back a couple times. You ready? Okay. Bring your feet back in. Remember, stay on ball of your foot. turn, and come back. Keep the head level nice and straight. One more time. Bring that front foot back, and turn, and step out. 2 times wide as your shoulder. Keep that knee out, nice and firm. And let's come forward a couple times. And instead of stopping in the middle, this time, let's go and continue right on. Ready? Step. Your feet should almost be touching. Ready? Step. Let's step back, and we'll finish it up. Ready? 2 times. Step. Step. And come back to ready position. And quick review. Horseback riding stance. Twice as wide as your shoulders. Weight is evenly distributed, 50-50. Your knees are out, and your body weight right on top of those knees. And that was your horseback riding stance. Now you're ready for front stance. And just like the stance says, your weight will be at the front of the leg. The weight distribution is approximately 70% on the front, which leaves about 30% in the back. Okay, first, bow. Remember, attention position into a ready stance. Shoulder width. And that's where the front stance comes in. Front stance stays at shoulder width. Let's take a left foot, step forward, approximately 2 of your own foot length, not 2 feet as in 24 inches. Okay, 2 of your own foot length. So step out. Now when you're stepping out, I want you to imagine you're on a railroad track. I don't want you to come in, I don't want you to go out, nice and straight. You're in a railroad track. Step out, approximately 2 feet length. Now again, you have to get used to that. The best way to get used to it is practicing. Okay, bend that front leg. Now I want you to lock that back leg. And once again, you want that hip going forward so your body is nice and straight. You don't want hip to be sagging back there. That hip going forward and body nice and straight. Now, if you look down real quickly, the best way to check, just look down quickly. The knee should be right on top of the front foot. And you should not be able to see that front foot. If you can see the front foot or your front toes, that means the front leg is not bent enough. So make sure you bend just enough. Not over-exaggerating, where your balance will be totally off. Okay, just enough. And your back nice and straight. Front stance. 70% weight on the front leg, 30% on the back leg. Shoulder width apart and approximately 2 feet long. Now the best way to check that length is if you pick up your feet, come up on ball of your foot, and you land and let the knee drop on the floor. You should still have that shoulder width. And if you're looking from the side, your knee and the heel should be approximately in one line. If your foot is behind that knee, that means your stance is not long enough. So you want to make sure that foot is in front or in line with that knee. That's the easiest way to check that length. And you will see this one more time when I show this side view. Again, shoulder width, approximately 2 feet long. Now let's come back into it. Front stance. Now from here, once again, movement, footwork. Now, in some styles, you bring your feet in before you go out. Okay? That's okay. But I like to practice the concept of quickest way to get there is in straight line. So I don't want to go in and out, which makes a circular line. I want to go straight in. I want you to take a position of as if you're sprinting. If you ever sprinted before, you're coming out of a box, your back heel is up, and you're taking off. Well, exactly same concept. From here, you're in a front stance. Keep that head level nice and straight. Just bend that back leg and pick your heel up off the floor slightly. Did you see me do that? Watch again. Ready? Pick up. Again, if you notice, my head level stays the same, but now my back heel is up. I push off, and I can get to my next stance at my quickest speed. Straight line. Keeping that shoulder width, 2 feet length, 70% weight on the front, 30% on the back leg. Front stance. Now, let's try to put this in with some of the blocks and punches. Okay, so first, feet together, bow. Ready stance, shoulder width. Let's start out with the low block. Cross the left arm on the top because you're going to step with your left foot. Step forward with your left foot, assume a front stance, and low block. And block should be right on top. Again, you can look down quickly just to check and see if you can see your feet or your toes. Lock that back leg, 70% weight on the front, 30% on the back. You're going to step in and punch. Remember, that back heel comes up, okay, but your head level doesn't change. And as you push off, you lunge in and punch. 70% weight on the front, 30% on the back leg. Front stance. Let's try going backwards. When you're stepping back, it's the same concept. You must break that stance. The way to do that, pick your back heel off the floor. And if you notice, my head level stays the same. And instead of pushing forward, I'm going to take my front leg, because remember, most of your weight is in the front. You can push back into that front stance. One more time, break that stance, and push back, and punch. Now remember, as you move, try to avoid that wobbling, try to avoid that side swaying movement. You're going to keep that head level, your body nice and firm. And come back to ready stance. Now let's try that side view where you can see a little more details. So from again, ready stance. Since I'm going to go to the left, I'm going to look to left. Cross my left arm on the top. As I step, I turn my body into it, and front stance. Now if you look at my knee, you should be sitting right on top of that foot. Not way behind, not way front. Right on top of that foot. If I look down quickly, I shouldn't be able to see my toes. 70% weight on the front leg. Lock that back leg so where you can get the firm support. And your back foot, you shouldn't be pointing directly sideways, where it's going 90-degree angle to the direction you're going, nor should it be facing all the way front, okay, where you can't hold that stance. Should be facing anywhere between about 15, 30-degree angle forward. So where your foot is slightly comfortable, and you can pick that heel up and break it at any time. And remember, 2 feet length. Let's check it. Okay, that's where my knee is. And look where my heel is. My heel is slightly in front of that knee, so I'm okay. If I bring that heel back, now my knee is covering my heel. The stance is too short. So you want to make sure, do that quick knee check, come right back up, bend that front leg, lock that back leg. One of the common things that people do is when they bend their front leg, they don't straighten out their body because of the body weight going forward. You want to make sure you bend your front leg and push with your back hip, where everything straightens up, nice and straight. Okay, you ready? We're going to go to left and punch. And we're going to go to right and punch. Turn all the way back. So we're going to go both directions. Almost like you're doing the first form, Chung. Okay, ready stance. Look to the left. Low block. Check your stance real quick. Aim. Step punch. Keep that head level nice and firm. Come back to ready stance. Now let's go to the other side. Look to the right. Right hand goes on the top. Ready? Block. Check that stance real quick. Drop to the knee just to make sure. Good. Come back. Aim. Step punch. And come back to ready position. Now let's try that a couple times quickly to to the left and to the right. We're going to go 2 times to the left and 2 times to the right. Left side first. Ready? Look. Block. Aim. Punch. Come back to ready. One more time. Look. Block. Aim. Punch. Now let's try the right side. Look. Block. Aim. Punch. And one last time. Look. Block. Aim. Punch. And that was your front stance. Once again, front stance. Shoulder width apart. Approximately 2 of your own foot length. 70% weight on your front leg. 30% on your back leg. Now you're ready for a back stance, more of a defensive stance. Unlike front stance, which is more of an offensive stance, back stance is more of a defensive stance. So the weight distribution changes. Front stance, you have 70% on the front leg. Back stance, you'll have 70% of the weight on the back leg. So let's get started. Bow. Ready position. And back stance. I want you to bring your feet almost together in a perpendicular position. Your feet will be in line. And it's approximately 2 feet length, just like the front stance. And from here, I want to make sure my both knees are bent and out slightly. Once again, you don't want knee to be buckling in. That'll give you very unstable balance. You're going to make sure that knee is sitting right on top of that foot. So this way, it gives you that firm balance, not where your knees buckling in. And I'm sure you'll be able to see the unstableness of that stance. Okay, same thing with the back leg. And shift your weight slightly to the back leg because you want 70% of the weight on the back leg. So back stance, front foot points straight, back foot points sideways, 2 feet length, and your body is sideways in one line. So there is no width. Your feet are almost in one line, feet together. So draw an imaginary line and keep the left foot on the left side of that line. Keep the right foot on the right side of that line. Back stance. It's always better to have what we call positive stance versus negative stance. In a back stance, you will notice, if I'm in a stance, you should be able to see both of my feet. If I bring my front foot in slightly, that's called negative stance. Now I'm sitting on almost as if I'm walking on a tight rope. My balance is not stable. That's called negative stance. If I exaggerate that, now you can see how unstable this is. That's not what you want. So you want that foot on the other side of the line. Of course, perfect stance right on the line. But it's better to have slightly positive stance where your balance is more firm. Back stance, 70% on the back leg, 30% on the front leg. Again, more of a defensive position. Now let me show you that side view. So this way you can see the difference between the front and back stance. Forward, attacking, or back, defensive stance. Remember, both stances are 2 feet length. If I'm standing in this position, you notice my body is here. Remember where my head is. 70% weight on the front leg. I bring my back foot in, and I shift my weight to the back leg. Now, I have a good foot distance between my opponent and myself. Once again, same length, weight on the front leg. Same length, weight on the back leg. So now you can see how front stance can be more of an offensive stance, where back stance is more of a defensive stance. Now let's go on with footwork of the back stance. Bow, please. Ready stance. Let's try the knife hand block. I want you to bring both hands behind your right shoulder. Turn your body sideways. Step forward with your left foot. Again, approximately 2 feet length. Don't sit in the middle. Sit slight in the back, away from your opponent, and block. You should be blocking your face level as well as your body. Okay, stepping forward, footwork. Once again, just like we talked about before in the front stance, you need to break this stance. Your weight is on the back leg. Pick the heel off the floor so you can push off. And you step. Front foot pointing straight, back foot pointing sideways. Reach back, knife and block. Same thing if you decide to go backwards. Pick the heel off so you can break the stance. And once again, always remember to keep that head level same. Don't rise up and down. Keep it down nice and smooth. Push back, and weight is on the back leg. Fold, knife and block. One more time. Pick the heel up, push back, bend that back leg, 70% weight on the back foot, and block. Now let's move up fast. We're going to go 3 fast up, 3 fast back, which will bring you right back into the stance. Keep those knees bent. Remember, heel up, head level same. You ready? Step and block. Going forward, step and block. Going forward, step and block. Not going backwards. Step and block. Step and block. And last one, step and block. And come back to ready stance. Feet together and bow. That was your back stance. Remember, it's 2 feet length. Same length as the front stance. Weight distribution, opposite of front stance. 70% weight on the back leg, 30% on the front leg. And remember, it's always better to have a positive stance versus a negative stance. Now you're ready for fixed stance. And just like the name of the stance says, you're fixed in one position. Stance is very solid. Stance is very firm. The fixed stance is very similar to the horseback riding stance that you did. Combining the horseback riding stance and the back stance, you have fixed stance. Let's review those 2 stances real quickly. Horseback riding stance, twice as wide as your shoulders or 3 feet length. Weight is 50-50. Back stance, 2 feet length. Weight is 70 on the back leg, 30 on the front leg. From here, you take one more step forward, which leaves the stance at 3 feet length, just like the horseback riding stance. However, your foot position is just like the back stance. Front foot faces forward, back foot faces sideways. Let's see the front view. Fixed stance. Your foot position, just like a back stance. You go forward approximately 3 feet length. Front foot facing forward and back foot facing sideways. Both knees are bent. Make sure your knees are facing out. This is a fixed, firm position. And once again, remember, it's always better to have slightly positive stance than negative, unstable stance. So from the fixed stance, you bring your feet almost together, back heel up, and push forward to get into another fixed stance. Keep that knee out. Don't let the knee buckle in. Body sideways. Stepping backward. Pick that back heel off the floor. Push back. Again, it's a very firm, solid stance. 3 times long as your own feet length. One more time. Pick that back heel up. Slide back. fixed stance. Now let's try to do this sideways using some of the punching techniques. Feet together and bow. Shoulder width apart, ready stance. Fixed stance is 3 feet long, so you must step out, nice and firm. Both knees out, and your weight is right at the center of the stance, 50-50. Aim with the right hand, since your left foot is in the front, and deliver left punch. We're going to use that punch as an aim as we step. Pick up your back heel off the floor, push off, and we're going to punch again. Ready? Punch! Fixed stance. Front foot points straight, back foot points sideways. And one more time. Ready? Pick that back heel off, punch. Okay, now let's go the other direction. Remember, shift your weight. Since your weight is 50-50, you don't have to shift. All you have to do is turn. Front foot pointing straight, back foot pointing sideways, knees out. Aim with the left first. Since your right foot is in the front, punch. Now back heel up, ready? Push off, punch. Again, back heel up, push off, punch. And one last time. Back heel up, push off, punch. Fixed stance with the punches. And once again, you should have noticed as I moved, my head level stayed the same. Let's try that fast. Ready? Looking to the left, punch. Hi-ya! Ready? 1, 2. Now let's try the other side. Ready? Punch. 2 more times the other way. 1, 2. And come back to ready position. That was fixed stance with a punching technique. Once again, fixed stance. Very similar to horseback riding stance and back stance. 3 feet length, front foot point straight, back foot point sideways. Weight is evenly distributed, 50-50 in the center. The cat stance. If you ever seen cat move, they move very swiftly. They always have their balance. Cat stance, 90% weight on the back leg, 10% weight on the front leg. Again, it's a shorter version of a back stance. Front stance was more of an offensive stance. Back stance was more of a defensive stance. Cat stance, however, is a combination of both. It's a defensive stance because you have a 90% weight on the back leg. It's an offensive stance because you have only 10% on the front leg, which you can strike with. And the foot length is 1 foot, no width. So let's try that. Feet together. And remember always to start out with your ready stance, shoulder width apart. Let's turn that right foot sideways and put 90%, all of the weight on that right leg, your back leg. Your front foot comes in, your left foot, and just ball of your foot is touching. You're not standing on flat foot, just ball of your foot, 10% of the weight. And between your ball of the foot and your heel is approximately your own 1 foot length. So measure off where the toes are and put the ball of the foot right there. Once again, your knee is out, so you're very stable. You don't want your knee to be buckling in or you will be unstable. And all of your weight, most of them, is on the back leg, cat stance. Stepping forward, just simply shift and put the weight down. As you shift, bend that back leg. That'll get your weight down right away where you can take that front foot and put it down very softly. Once again, as soon as I turn, I'm going to bend that leg right away, keeping the head level same, and just place that front foot right down. One more time. Just set that front foot down, which becomes your back leg, and gently place that front foot. And if the ball of foot is difficult, just come up on your tippy toes. So almost you have no weight on the front foot. 90% on the back leg, 10% on the front leg is an ideal weight distribution. If you wish to make it a little bit more on the back leg, that's okay too. Remember, cat stance is a defense or even an offensive position. Let's take a step back. Bend that back leg. Put that weight on that back foot and very gently put that front foot down. Once again, weight on the back foot, gentle on the front foot. One more time. Weight on the back foot, very light on the front foot, and one last time. 90% on the back foot, 10% on the front foot. And that's your cat stance. Remember, earlier I used a front kick strike to attack, which makes it more of an offensive stance. However, because 90% weight is on the back leg, it makes it more of a defensive position. So you choose which one is ever more comfortable for you, whether it's a defensive or an offensive position. And I'm sure it'll work either way. Now let's try this with knife hand block and a palm heel block, going front and back. Okay, feet together and bow. Ready stance. First, knife hand block. Reach back, put the weight on the back leg and block. You notice from this position, I can block as well as I can strike. Best way to check, just pick up the front foot and put it down gently. Step forward, block. Once again, pick up the front foot. Put it down gently. Couple more times. Ready? Block. Block. Now let's go backwards. Ready? Block. Block. Pick up the foot. Hold it there for a second and put it down. If you can do that, that means you have a good cat stance. One last time. Step back, block. And 90% weight on the back leg, 10% on the front leg. There you have your cat stance. Let's go through that a little faster with palm heel blocks. Palm heel blocks come from the waist and striking with heel part of your palm. Now, if you have any questions of any of the strikes and blocks that I have just went through, please don't forget to refer to the perfect striking techniques or perfect blocking techniques. Now let's continue with this cat stance with the palm heel block. Ready? Okay, feet together. Bow, please. Shoulder width apart. Ready stance. Stepping forward with your left foot in a cat stance and palm heel block. 90% weight on the back leg. Again, ready? Step, block. Quicker, step, block. Step, block. Stop. Let's check the stance. Pick up that foot and down. Very good. Now let's go backwards. Ready? Step back, block. Again, step back, block. Step back, block. Stop. Check the stance. And down soft. And come back to ready stance. Cat stance, 90% weight on the back leg, 10% on the front. The length, approximately 1 foot length. The final stance is a natural stance. And just like the name of the stance says, it has to be very natural. The way I'm standing, this is about shoulder width apart, more of a ready stance. Natural stance is a little more comfortable stance, about 1 foot width. If I'm standing sideways, about 1 foot length. And your weight is evenly distributed where you can shift from front to back or even side to side. This is the most commonly used stance. If you're ever confronted in a situation, you never want to get into a karate stance where you're showing aggressiveness. You want to be passive. That's where the natural stance comes in. Yet, you're still prepared. You're ready to protect. Your body's again turned sideways you can move. You can move front to the back by shifting the weight because you're at a comfortable, natural position. This can be done two different ways. One, your feet facing same direction in a natural stance. Weight is again 50-50, not shoulder width apart like a ready stance. A little bit closer together where you're a little bit more comfortable. Also, more mobile. You can move front, you can move to the right, left, or you can go to the back. From here, you can block. In some of my advanced Chungs, you will see me block and strike. As I block, I strike in a natural stance because I can defend myself. If I point my foot to the direction that I'm going, it becomes either defense or an offensive stance to that direction. Same thing to the other side. It can be a defense or an offensive stance to that direction. And once again, footwork. If I'm going front, I move my front foot first, and back foot slides up. If I'm going back, my back foot slides back, and I'm in a natural stance again. At any point, never, I should take a chance of tripping over my own foot. So when I go forward, front foot moves. When I go back, back foot moves, where I'm always ready to defend myself or even ready to attack. That's a natural stance. Now, we talked about both feet being parallel. Let's continue on with that directional stance. If I'm in a natural stance, my front foot should be facing front, back foot facing sideways, approximately about 1 foot length. Almost like a cat stance. Yet, this is standing up still in a natural, comfortable position. So I can attack, and again, I can defend, just like what I talked about. And from here, the basic footwork is walk. Take your back foot, step forward where you're comfortable. No exaggeration, okay? You should be very comfortable. Front foot pointing straight, back foot pointing sideways. Please don't look down, okay? You should be natural. You should be able to see where your foot is pointing. If your feet is pointing sideways and you don't know it's pointing sideways, you're in trouble. You should feel the stance, front foot pointing straight, back foot pointing sideways. Once again, walk. Your head level, nice and straight. Front foot straight, back foot sideways. Let's walk backwards. Ready? Walk. Natural stance. 1 foot length, weight, 50-50. Walk. One more time, walk. And come back to ready stance. There you have natural stance. You have just completed perfect stances and footwork. We went over 7 different stances, starting from ready stance to horseback riding stance, front stance, back stance, fixed stance, cat stance, and of course, the natural stance. If you have any questions about the content of the tape, please feel free to write me at the address shown at the end of the tape. And I'll see you at the next series.